My dad will fire you for being a middle school graduate, Maria, the boss's haughty daughter, said with arrogance. It was a poke at me, the one who constantly chastised her for her conceit. I gave her a severe look when I heard her juvenile response. You're just a little bad guy trying to look strong. This is not where you play. You'll come across even scarier beasts overseas. You must define your audacity in a constructive manner. You get it, missy. Maria gave me a parting shot and began to grit her teeth when I stated this. I had no idea at the time how these remarks would affect not only her, but also mine and the company's destiny. Amazing, exactly as I had anticipated. How come? James Brown, I'm 40 years old. I am employed by Octo Trading, a large firm. Even though I currently lead a solid life, I had a very unstable school career. When I was in my 3rd year of middle school, my parents got divorced. My mother adopted me, gave me the last name James, and relocated us abroad. After my middle school graduation, my mother Linda was a ball of enthusiasm. She was active when viewed positively, impulsive all the time when viewed negatively. I had no friends overseas, so I was frequently sucked into her madness. She most likely never considered paying for her child's education while she was younger. My greatest degree of schooling thus continued to be middle school. On the other hand, the hectic life abroad gave me the bravery, language skills, and other capabilities I needed. Maybe we were just same in our stubborn ways, which is how I was able to keep up with my mother. However, I lost my mother when I was 25 years old, 15 years ago. I came home to the United States for the first time in a long time after grieving for her as her son. I signed up with Octo Trading, seeing this as a new beginning. My mother's daring personality and significant abroad experience helped me land a job despite just having completed middle school. However, destiny is capricious. My name is David Smith. I joined the company 12 years ago, 3 years ago, and I was recently appointed as Octo Trading's new CEO. It will be a pleasure working with each of you. How come? During the general meeting to elect the new CEO, I had an unexpected encounter with my father. I've kept my job ever since while keeping my identity as the CEO's son a secret. I didn't want to put my father through any hardships, and I also didn't want to be viewed negatively. It has been 12 years in this far-flung but intimate relationship. Someone emerged this year who would fundamentally alter my surroundings. I work in the foreign commerce department, and one day there was a buzz. When I arrived at work as usual, a junior staff member greeted me. James, good morning. Have you heard the latest? The information. What topic are you discussing? The daughter of the COO will be working in our department as of right now. It will not go well at all. I shrugged my shoulders, seeing the junior employee holding his head. The stress on the floor abruptly increased at that point. I turned around and saw a long-haired woman walking toward me with grace. She was accompanied by the department head, who talked nervously. Hey, we have a new member in our department as of today, as most of you are undoubtedly aware. My name is Maria Smith. Good to meet you. Cutting off the department head and assuming control, Maria introduced herself, saying, I expect everyone to perform up to the standards of the department I belong to. Maria Smith, 29, is the daughter of Mr. Smith, Octo Trading's longtime supporting COO. I reasoned that at least her attitude befits her station. Rumors have been spread about her. She has a reputation for being incredibly brash and conceited, frequently using her position as the CEO's daughter to get what she wants. It makes sense why the less experienced worker was so anxious. In my case, I wasn't all that intrigued. She is my sister if she is the daughter of my father. Maria and I, however, are unrelated. Maria is my stepsister because she is the stepdaughter of my father's second wife. I'm not very interested in Maria and don't know a lot about her because of this. Maria seems almost charming in her selfish conduct when contrasted with my free-spirited mother. My face must have revealed this. Hi there. You. Me? What is it? You appear to be very self-satisfied. Make it right. Marita started fighting with me as soon as work started. It seems that she didn't like that, while everyone else was frightened about her. I was the only one who appeared uninterested. Junior staff members were looking on with apprehension until I shrugged and stated, "That's mutual. You ought to be a little friendlier." I'll attempt to follow suit. I'm genuinely bothered by your attitude. I believe you require training. The order is reversed. It's you who requires instruction. I want you to say, "Please show me how to do the job." Maria's face twisted the moment I said that. She reached over and flung a nearby stack of papers in my direction. As I scooped up the papers, Maria waggled her finger at me. "As of right now, you are my servant. I'll work with you until you give up and say sorry. That's not part of my job description. You're extremely, really impolite. Just keep an eye out. I'll make sure you can't continue working here." Maria's face flushed deep red as she yelled. She has a low boiling point for a young lady, I thought to myself. The junior staff members gathered around me, concerned, as she stormed off. "James, are you truly all right? The CEO's daughter was furious with you." "All right, let her express her desires. Furthermore, you guys can work more efficiently if her ire is focused on me, right? You ever gave that some thought? James, you're very talented." A couple of my junior coworkers gave me very admiring stares. It appears that our workplace appreciates my bold demeanor. For that, I'm appreciative. Recognizing how difficult it is to be dependent on someone else, I reasoned that as long as my coworkers could work in peace, it was sufficient for me. Maria is the issue. She announced that she would start pestering me in different ways from this day on. She made me run errands, shoved her work on me, and tampered with the paperwork I made. I reprimanded her every time she bothered me. "Hi, Maria. Make sure your reporting is accurate. The other workers are being bothered by you." "What? Why must I pay attention to you? Don't address me by my first name either. It's repulsive. Calling someone by their first name is customary in the U.S. Is that how you like to be treated? Who declared that I enjoy it?" There was no progress in spite of her complaints. She's going to make a big mistake soon, I thought to myself, growing impatient. I was standing in line at a restaurant one day. It was an upscale restaurant that was well known in the community and where, even on special occasions, you couldn't just go out to eat. This suggested that my meeting companion was well off. "Hey, I apologize for making you wait." "Dad, you're running late." I was so anxious that I assumed I would drink all the self-serve water. "That's not the kind of guy you are." James gave a hearty laugh. David Smith, the CEO of Octo Trading and my true father, was seated across from me. This year, he turns 64. It's confusing since, despite being near to retirement, he appears 10 years younger. It's possibly because, at first impression, he seems so nice and a little shy. Nevertheless, in spite of looks, he is the chief executive who has overseen a significant trading organization with annual revenue in the billions. We've occasionally eaten dinner together since he became CEO. I'm sick of going to fancy places for dinner every night, but it's probably a security measure to hide my identity. "So, Dad, how's work going?" "Last year, you asked me that. The same as usual applies. I don't mind that we have these same old conversations all the time. I see my dad as a prosperous, well-respected man, but also as a little unfortunate man who was taken advantage of by wacky ladies like my mother. Like every day, we ate fancy cuisine and spoke about unimportant stuff. My dad's phone rang at that very moment. With an apology gesture, he took the call. "Yes, that is a miscommunication." "What, Maria?" "Maria as well." "Really? Oh my God." "I apologize. I was only leaning over the table to listen to my dad talk." I could hear the talk plainly, and I could hear the phone's high-pitched voice. Maria, my dad's second wife, and her daughter Maria were the callers. It appeared like they were both making accusations against my dad. After a 10-minute conversation, my dad hung up and let out a long, heavy sigh. Oh no, they thought I was cheating once more. I suppose I should get them presents. Do you not feel that you are spoiling them too much, Dad? Upon expressing my disapproval, my father scratched his head. He shifted the topic by inquiring, "How's Maria?" "This year, you're still employed at the same office, correct? She really is the worst. How someone might act in such a way is perplexing." I was honest with him about my thoughts. It doesn't mean I have to be shy with her just because she's my stepsister. She has been persistently pestering and pursuing me. I'll say it again, Dad, you are accountable for Maria's actions. You are only going to make her worse by indulging her. I take it you've been remarried for a decade now. Perhaps it's time you asserted yourself more. You're right, but you're being harsh. I arched an eyebrow at what he said. I thought he would dismiss it like normal, but he appeared to be thinking about something. James, kindly tend to Maria. She could have a positive influence on you being there. You're making a joke. I will not continue to do things my way. It is Maria's decision how she feels about it. Hey, James, that's exactly like you. I gave my dad a look, but all he could do was stare back, leaving me speechless. I'm counting on you, James, he said once more. My expectations of you are very high. I just shrugged and said, got it. After eating dinner with my father, I started berating Maria even more. When I looked closely at Maria's actions and output at work, her flaws were much more noticeable. It was not possible to make her a positive influence, so I tried to lessen the bad aspects in the hopes that they would at least become neutral or somewhat less negative. I tried, but Maria just got cockier and hated me even more. In a way, her unwavering resistance to change was amazing. But the more Maria despised me, the more my coworkers came to like me. I mean, I could never pull that off. James is just remarkable. I would be extremely driven if James were my boss. My colleagues' praise made me feel a little awkward. I reasoned that I wasn't doing anything deserving of such praise, even though it might be a Japanese thing. However, there were advantages to the more regard I received. These days, I work with a few colleagues in a team to develop new products and grow sales channels, and my job has gotten a lot easier. This has raised the team's spirits and cohesiveness. The new product was successfully developed by my team first. That happiness, though, was fleeting. How come? Why did our team's product be turned down? When the manager summoned me in one day, I spoke sternly. Our fresh product idea had been turned down. The manager averted his gaze and dabbed at the perspiration on his brow as I gave him a fierce look. I apologize. We chose to accept another team's proposal since it was comparable to ours. I understand. Mar Smith, am I correct? No, that's not right. James, you could get hurt too if you enrage her too much. Stop worrying about it. I have no fear from a single spoilt brat. I told her so emphatically, and then I went to Maria's desk. She must have known I would be coming. Maria was waiting for me while she leaned back in her chair and held the documents. A cursory look at the charts indicated that they contained information on the product we created. James, here you are. Maria, give up on these silly games. It's not just a time waster. It lowers team spirit as well. I scowled as usual and scolded her. My impression was confirmed by something about Maria's demeanor that looked more certain than normal. Still as insolent as ever, Maria remarked with an even bigger smile. Okay, how about this? She then started torn up the papers she was holding. She took her time, making sure I could see every page being torn apart. After witnessing our team's diligent effort being ignored, I at last spoke up. Do you even realize what you've done, Maria? I'm tired of this foolishness. How frightening. However, despite your constant barking, you no longer frighten me. She raised her chin and cast a low glance at me. I have been informed about you. Without any formal schooling, you are a dropout, and a middle school dropout at that. It's incredibly funny. What then is your point? Seemingly tough, That's for sure. Maria triumphantly gestured at me with her finger. A dropout like you is not needed here. I'll tell my father to terminate you for dropping out of middle school, Maria arrogantly declared. When I scooped up the torn documents, the room buzzed, but all I felt was dumbfoundedness. With a sigh, I replied, "So our little princess went through all of this only to threaten to fire you if I tell Daddy. How come? You ought to be more terrified. The CEO's daughter here. You're losing your job. 3 points. You are but a child trapped in an adult body. Give it up and begin over." Maria was quite angry. I gave her a hard look and fixed her with my stare, pinning her to her desk. "You're just being conceited, petty, and difficult. It's not a playground here. Put your energy and cunning to greater use. If you persist in doing this, you will continue to fail. Not at all. You'll come across even scarier beasts overseas. To deal with them, you must hone your boldness in a constructive way. You get it, Missy." Maria got up and started gritting her teeth as I said this. With a stomp, she left. She turned back and gave a final blow just before heading out of the office floor. "With my true power, I'll make you eat your words one day." "Yes," I said with a dismissive wave of my hand. Maria gave a snort and vanished. "All right, let's rework the documents," I remarked, turning to face my astounded colleagues. "Please assist me." Indeed. After organizing the details of the new product, I persuaded the management to once more approve our proposal. When I arrived at work the following day as normal, I was greeted at the front desk by the secretary. It seems that my dad, who is the CEO of Opto Trading, wants to talk to me face to face. I entered the CEO's office, thinking this might possibly be my notice of termination. "Impressive, just as I expected," exclaimed my father, the CEO, as soon as I walked in. I was taken aback and was unable to react right away. My dad was grinning so much that I thought he was going to give me a hug. "What do you mean, Dad?" I inquired. "What exactly do you mean when you say, 'just as I expected,' Mr. Seal?" "Naturally, I'm referring to the way you treated Maria. You did well yesterday, according to the report I read. Did it successfully. I didn't take any unique action. As always, I gave her a reprimand. Besides, it hardly qualifies as an accomplishment because Maria's attitude hasn't changed at all. It's all right, James. We are alone here, and I've taken precautions to ensure that no one will overhear us. Talk openly like you usually would." He motioned for me to take a seat on an opulent couch. "As I mentioned during our meal, I expect you to positively influence Maria," Dad replied, folding his arms as I sat down. "I believe the advice you gave her yesterday was quite good and could help her go on the right path." "James, only you could have said something like that." I said, "just as I expected," for this reason. You are aware of the specifics of such a little exchange that happened only yesterday. I think having superhuman hearing is a requirement for being a CEO. This is only the start of the information gathering process. Dad chuckled deeply. Though he has a mild demeanor, he is obviously capable of having directed a large company for more than 10 years. Then we were offered coffee by a person who appeared to be a secretary. The secretary pushed some paperwork in my direction while setting a cup in front of me. Dad didn't say anything until the secretary had left the room when I arched an eyebrow in skepticism. "James, after learning about the situation from yesterday, I'm stalled. I have a unique requirement. Could you assist Maria in starting over from scratch? Starting at the bottom. You mean to be more intimately involved with her rather than merely conversing with her like you did before?" "That's right, and I've set you up with the authority to do that." Dad motioned for me to open the files. I took several sheets of paper and turned them over. "This is a concept, this is a password, and this is a task order. James, you will also be employed in the strategic planning department as of right now." "I am aware of it." The CEO is the direct boss of the strategic planning department, which has considerable responsibility over hiring and auditing practices. In my 15 years with Opto Trading, I had never seen this unique department. It's not even indicated on the department map of the corporation, I believe. The personnel are unsure about this department. It is stated in the job order that you are assigned to work in the strategic planning department concurrently. I raised an eyebrow as I perused the paperwork. Something seemed too detailed to be agreed upon so fast after yesterday. I caught my dad's signature bright smile when I looked at him, but I couldn't get the feeling that there wasn't a smile in his eyes. It dawned on me that there were people with hideous powers even nearby. I bowed deeply, setting the documents on my lap. I accept this assignment with humility. All right, I'll soon have the secretary lead you to your assigned workstation. You can review the necessary tasks there. Your obligations will become evident. Indeed, sir. Just to be clear, Dad, by the way, I said in a suppressed voice. What happens if Maria stays the same? In that instance, further action is not necessary. The seriousness in his succinct reply gave me the chills. Following that, my dad's secretary showed me how to get to the middle floors of the main office building. Compared to the other floors, this one had more space occupied. It turns out that this is the strategic planning department's location, contrary to my initial assumption that it was only for electrical systems. I went through a really strong door that required a special key to open, and I was in an area that had numerous separate offices. The secretary claims that each worker assigned to the strategic planning department uses one of these specific offices to perform their work. It had the vibe of an intelligence service. I pondered the moment my dad had organized something similar. There was a computer desk, a locker, and other basic office equipment when I walked into the room I was given. There was a ton of wiring and room for more monitors if necessary, as I noted. I turned on the computer and completed the initial setup using the ID and password that came with my assignment. My face tensed as I casually scanned the PC's internal software and data. Whoa, how much info is this ID capable of accessing? It was overwhelming how much information was available. Department heads appeared to have significantly less access than that. It appeared that if I so desired, I could follow up with each employee separately. I gave a shrug. I now see why there is so much mystery around the strategic planning department. Dad, this isn't a job for just anybody. By the way, given the name of the department, I was no stranger to this kind of information job from my time overseas. It seems sense that the company's top secret development initiatives, which are essential to its future, might be managed from here. However, my father did not give me that responsibility. My primary responsibility was to start Maria over from scratch. Finding information about Maria was surprisingly simple. She had a meager employment history with the Foreign Trade Department, which I laughed off. It was still a considerable quantity to review on its own. As I was getting ready to balance the two duties, I came across some odd information. What is this? She is submitting several travel expense claims, some of which were generated but rejected. I remembered Maria's typical demeanor. She hardly ever worked at her desk. I had thought she was just being lazy, but suddenly I understood that even though she wasn't working much, she was getting a lot of calls. Was she out there making sales calls? Something about this seems off. It was yesterday that she said, "One day, I'll make you eat your words with my true power." As I learned more, I began to believe Maria was more than simply a haughty, indolent slacker. I eventually realized what my dad meant when he spoke of reforming from the ground up. Something big happened after a while of alternating between the Foreign Trade Department and the Strategic Planning Department. I waited in the staff parking lot in my car. I eventually noticed a business car moving, so I started my own. I knew Maria was in the business car since I had looked up the number beforehand. She was a princess, and driving on her own was unusual. She picked the greatest business car available. Of course, that's just so typical of her. I started to go with Maria. She took a car to an abandoned business facility outside the town. I exited my automobile when I noticed her vehicle pull into a warehouse that was connected to the structure. I looked around after completing my phone and other preparations. It was silent and there was no one in sight. I could therefore hear voices from outside the building that belonged to individuals inside. Every mailbox lacked a tenant's name. I went into the building without thinking. I brashly entered the room where the voices were coming from after opening the door. "Hey there. I just wanted to stop by." "What?" "James, why are you in this place?" Panicked, Maria, who had been relaxing on the furthest sofa, got to her feet. She was surrounded by numerous suit-wearing men. Holding drinks, they froze, like they were entertaining. "Maria, at this time of day, it has to be pleasant. You high school dropout, answer me, don't just stand there." "It's good to see you too. I stopped by to see how you were doing." Maria's expression stiffened when I answered. Maria was asked by one of the men in suits, "What's going on? You made no mention of having other partners. Cease talking. Like you, I have no idea what's happening." For a brief moment, Maria was startled, but she quickly composed herself because it was me. As usual, she lifted her chin and said to me, "It seems like you are come to give me another lecture. Regretfully for you, I'm going to accomplish something significant, unlike you. You can stay if you want to help, but you'll be my servant for eternity. I don't want to hear your nagging. Talking too much. 30 points. What? Once more?" Maria became enraged and flushed. It was obvious that she was upset with my earlier comments. One of the men in suits came over to me while I was reflecting on how animated this debate had been. "Hey, speaking to Miss Smith like that takes some guts for an employee." "Not as much as you, Mr. Charles Williams from the Oriental Nexus Foreign Trade Department." "What? How are our firm name and my name known to you?" The man in the suit, Charles, was clearly shaken. "A competing trading company called Oriental Nexus is said to operate in legal murky areas in order to turn a profit quickly." I turned to face the other men, calling them all out by name and by affiliation. Their facial reactions proved that I was right. "You chose a really intriguing hiding place then. This building truly feels like the hideout of small-time criminals. Excellent work in terms of artistry. Oh no, if you continue to speak in that manner. However, I'm the one used to handling rough situations." In the blink of an eye, I neutralized him when I grabbed his arm, whirled around, and pinned him to the ground. Even Maria was taken aback, as were the other males. As Maria said, "What are you planning to do to me?" she shook. "Your actions determine what I do. I am here to check on your job, as I mentioned. Is that laptop there for this transaction?" Maria quickly closed the laptop as I was speaking. "I'm completely ignorant. I'm not sure. Saying you know nothing is basically admitting you know something." I let go of Charles and waved a stack of papers that I had taken out of my bag. "The shady transactions between Oriental Nexus and us are documented in these documents. These should correspond to the data on that laptop. Do you want to have a look?" "What? What level of knowledge do you possess?" I touched my chin and said, "Let's see." I disclosed how Oriental Nexus had set out to undermine David Smith by focusing on Maria and her mother. Maria had been exchanging substantial quantities of cash and opulent goods for insider knowledge from Octo Trading. In addition, she'd have been organizing plots inside her own family to accuse David Smith, her stepfather, of embezzlement. Maria and the others looked pale, but they turned ghostly white when I revealed their depravity with ease. Maria cried out, panting like a drowning fish, "I'll tell Daddy, and he'll have you. Right now. Your father granted me permission to look into this. Are you even aware of how ridiculous you sound?" It made absolutely no sense to Maria to help bring down the CEO while depending on his authority. David Smith served just as a useful instrument. Her actual power came from the authority she had taken from Oriental Nexus. Disgusting. Maria recoiled from my stare and gave a little cry. With hesitation, she inquired, Who are you?" A high school dropout could never pull this off. "Yes, you are correct. My name is David Smith, and I am his biological son." "What?" "Unlike you, I don't go around flaunting that I'm the CEO's kid." When I got close to Maria, she was slumped over in the couch, seemingly immobile. Terrified, the men surrounded her kept their distance. Here's your last lesson from your stepbrother. If you underestimate society, you'll end up getting harmed like this, I said, using my phone as I picked up the laptop. You need to have taken your elders' advice earlier. Maria shuddered violently, yes. Several additional men rushed into the room at that very moment. They were Otto's trading staff, standing by for my signal. They took Maria away as well. Maria looked back at me, horrified, and I dealt her the death blow. Reform in a top-down manner. You and your mother should both start again in life. Maria slouched her shoulders and nodded, and Oppa trading staff led her out of the building. After that, Maria was disciplined and fired from Otto's trading after being found guilty of leaking confidential information and embezzlement. My research had produced sufficient proof, so she had no justifications left. My dad severed his relationship with Maria and divorced her mother after that. After losing their support, Maria and her mother battled to make ends meet and survive day to day while dealing with the company's massive compensation demands. They paid a heavy price for the lessons they learned in life, but they caused it. James congratulated me on being named vice president a year after Maria's incident. I'm grateful, I answered. Years-long colleagues began applauding me, and I gave them a weird smile in return. Today is a celebration for Oppa Trading's new management team. I've been given a vice president position. The story at this event is that I uncovered Maria's plot and preserved Oppa Trading's future. I think there's a good chance I'll end up as CEO. I got tired of being pushed around and left the crowd by going into a quiet hallway. My son, I knew you would come here seeking refuge. You really did it, Dad, I murmured bitterly. My father gave a hearty laugh. He didn't have the slightest appearance of a disgraced former CEO. Dad had resigned from his position to accept accountability for the controversy our family had started. That's the official narrative. But I've always believed that Dad had a secret plan to sever his relationship with Maria and her mother in order to allow me to take over as CEO and begin his own comfortable retirement. He is very remarkable. I doubt I'll ever be able to catch up to you. What are you saying? I have no more knowledge to impart to you. But before I go, I'd like to advise you to treat ladies with extreme caution. I genuinely grinned at his remarkably forceful remarks and shook glasses with my father.